In this video, you will learn how to trade options on the Interactive Brokers mobile app, starting first with finding and executing your watch list, doing some technical analysis on your trading charts, setting up your options trade, and monitoring that trade until you close it out on the back end, hopefully locking in loads of profit. Let's do it. When you first log into the Interactive Brokers mobile app, you're likely going to be landed on one of the pages here at the bottom. And these 5 apps may look different than yours, but these are the 5 that I like to use for options trading, and I'll explain why in a moment. If these do look a bit different, make sure you click and hold on one of them. Let's click on Watchlist right now, right there, click and hold. And when we do this, it'll pop up with a new screen where you can actually use these hamburger menus to drive and drop this. If I click there and hold and drive it upwards, it's going to replace the transactions in my navigation bar at the bottom. Now, these 5 items will be shown if I click this back arrow in the top left corner. You can see that the home button has replaced transactions in the bottom right corner. To replace that back and get my Fab 5 back in the bottom row, I'm going to click and hold. And I will just click and hold on the transaction hamburger icon, and I will move that up. And now I've got my Fab 5 back in action, clicking the back arrow again to get back. And these Fab 5 at the bottom are all very important. We've got the portfolio area right there, clicking on that. Once there's action, we're going to check back in here for satisfaction. I'm going to show you how to set this up later on in the video and why these columns actually matter. Then we've got our watch list, clicking down there. This is where you're going to go to zero in on some dough and find your companies to trade options on with all these columns as well. If we scroll over to the right, I'm going to show you why these are important as well in a moment. Then we've got the trade area right here, clicking on that. If you want to get in and out quicker than a baby trout, this is the place for you to be. You've got orders, you've got trades, and you've got in the money options right there, all in one place, and a buy and a sell button as well. Then we've got account, the place to see all the digits and make sure that you're still with it, balances, margins, funds, and market value. And we'll go over what those mean a little bit later on as well. And transactions. This is where you can go to make an inquisition about your trade positions. If you just take your finger and scroll to the right up here, you can move back in time and actually click on a day to see what options trade were made on that trading day, if any of them were. If they are, they will display in this area down here. So let's hop back into our watch list right now and go look for some stocks to trade options on and get this thing going. So click on a watch list and we're back. As you can tell, I've got a couple different companies on my watch list. The tickers here on the left-hand side show the companies that I'm currently tracking on this watch list. Clicking this plus button right here will give you the option to make a new watch list, which we're going to do and give it the name New List. Now, if you want to add different stock, let's say you want to add your very favorite stock to this list. We click down here on Add Instrument, and I'm going to add a couple here from this list, starting with Coinbase. And then I'm going to click stock. And now I've got coin on my list. If I want to do the same thing again, I could just go down here and click add instrument. And now I can click on Apple right here to add Apple. And again, I click stock. And now I've got Apple on my list. That's how you build out your own list. Now I'm going to hop back into my list number 1 because that's a list that I've curated based on what I like to trade. But you do the same for yourself. And now let's look at these different columns up here along the top. We can see these are changing as we scroll to the right. Different columns are coming across and they're there for different reasons. I'll explain why right now. First, we've got the last column, which just gives you the price that the stock was currently trading at or the last price it was traded at. You've got the change, which is the change in the stock price for the current trading day. You can see Apple is down $2.13 on this trading day. Then we've got change percentage, which tells you how much the stock is down as a percentage. So it's down $2.13 on this trading day, which means that it is down 1.23% or a drop 1.23% for that trading day. Next up, we've got volume, just click and dragging to the right. And volume is important for options trading because you want to have a certain benchmark for minimum volume for the stock to actually be worth it to trade options on. If there's not a bunch of millions of volume on a stock, it's going to be very hard to trade options and actually do it successfully. So we've got volume right here, and then we've got average volume, which is another key thing that traders use with options. They compare the volume for today on this singular trading day with the average volume for the stock. And sometimes when you see this number popping up and being way more than the average, it can be a signal that something's happening with this single stock right here. Conversely, if it's way lower, let's see this as well, Etsy down 2.24 million versus 3.99 million for the average, it can also be a signal that something is happening in the stock, maybe worth monitoring there as well. Then you've got 52-week IVP and 52-week IVR. This is about volatility, and it's showing you the percentage or how volatile the stock is. The closer this number is to 100%, the more volatile this stock is, or which means the options are more expensive, and selling of the options will be a more lucrative mission, and buying of them will be more expensive. 6%, very, very low volatility right now currently for Etsy when you compare it to the historical volatility for the stock. Same thing with the 52 IVR. It is ranking this stock over the past 52 weeks or calendar year on how much volatility there has been. The closer you get to 100, again, the more volatile it is. The closer you get to 8 or 9 right here, or 0 or 1, the less volatile it is. You can see Zoom, very low volatility right now. Tesla, moderately volatile. Snap, pretty volatile. Meta, extremely. Netflix, extremely, right? That's how you read these charts here for the IVR. Then you've got the IV close. And again, this is all to help option sellers and buyers understand if they're going to be paying more or getting paid more to buy or sell their options contracts. The IV close gives you the IV percentage of the stock, which you can then compare against the historical volatility if you track those numbers here as well. The last columns here, we have dividend date and dividend yield, which just means the dividend date, which you have to own the stock by in order to get the next round of dividend payments, May 10th for Apple. And the dividend yield is the percentage paid out, 0.6% for the dividend yield. You see Meta's got one as well now, 0 for NVIDIA, and Oracle 1.3 of these stocks. Some of them don't have dividends, which is why this is blank right here. So if you want to have these exact same columns for yourself or other columns, all you have to do is go up to the little 3 dots in the top right corner, click there, and then just click on Manage Columns right here. This will allow you to pop open a new little chart, and you can see everything that's checked on is currently being shown. If I check this dividend yield off by clicking on the check mark, it will not show up when we go back through our back button right here. Scrolling over to the right, you can see the last column is now dividend date, and there's nothing past that. It's just dividend date, and that's it. Let's hop back into our 3 little dots right there. Again, we'll go Manage Columns. And now to add that dividend yield back in, we go down to the bottom here and go plus button, Add Columns. Click there. This brings up a screen where you could search for all columns by clicking right here on this text. If you know what you want to search for, you can click there, and I can type in dividend. And now it's going to filter everything based on dividends. So I can see there dividends, dividend 1-year yield, dividend amount, dividend date. If I scroll down, there's dividend payout ratio, everything to do with dividends. There's dividend yield, which we want to put back on right there by clicking this plus button one more time. Again, now if I go back up here with the back arrow, be a common theme for you as we go through this demonstration. I can add something else in here if I want to. If I scroll down, I want to go into, let's say, I want to go into the Greeks right there and open that up, click on the Greeks. I can add delta, theta, gamma, vega if I want to. Let's just click on delta and put that on with the check mark. Now let's go back by clicking this arrow up the top left. One more time, and you can see that you have a nice dividend date, dividend yield, and now a delta column that would show up with the delta of the stock when the market was open. So if I was an options trader and I wanted to go in and do some trading on Apple, all I would have to do is click on the Apple text right there. The chart pops up below it. Click on the chart to get into our actual charting and options area. So on this quote page, this is a quote page specifically for Apple. And we can see we've got quote there, options, book, company, news. And to trade options, we need 2 things from this page. We need the chart in the middle to do some technical analysis, if we're going to use this for our technical analysis tool. And then we need the options button, which we'll get to in a second after we go through the chart. So to get into this chart and do some TA, technical analysis, click in the chart right there. And this new style of chart in the mobile app will pop up for you. If you don't have any indicators, like I've got these lines in the chart and some volume bars down here and this RSI down here, don't worry. We're going to show you how to create this and save it so you have a template to always go back and load in case it ever does get deleted by mistake. So I'm going to quickly take these all away and show you how to add them back in. So here's how to customize and set up your chart inside the Interactive Brokers mobile app. First things first, we're showing a day chart for Apple. If you want to change that by clicking on the D, you can change it from 1 minute to 15 to 5 to 30 to hours to weeks to month, whatever you want to do. Let's keep it on day for now, but just know if you click one of these other selections, it's going to change the timeline of your chart. Next up, we have candlesticks showing. So if you want to change that back to a line chart, let's say, click on the candlesticks at the top, then just click on the line right there, and it'll change your chart back to a nice, easy to read line chart. I'm going to stick with the candlestick chart for now because I like to use it for technical analysis and chart reading abilities. Now, to add in those technical analysis indicators, a moving average, we want to go up to this FX button right there, click on there. Then we want to either scroll if we know what we're looking for. We can scroll all the way down to moving average in the M section right there, and click it right there and add one in. But we want to add one more in as well. So to do that a little bit quicker, we can click on the FX button. We can then just click in the search bar right here, and we can just type in moving average. And you can see that even if I type in just moving, it now filters it so I can just select moving average nice and quickly. I have two 9-day moving averages, as you can see here on the chart. So that's going to be the same line duplicated in there. So I don't want to show it like that. I want to show it as a 200-day moving average because that's a major technical analysis tool for traders. I also want to show a 50-day moving average because that is another major technical milestone that lots of institutional traders track when they're making their T&A decisions. So to do this, I'm going to click on the MA right here, right on there, on that text. And it's going to bring up these three little dots at the bottom. Click on those little dots to change the setup of the line. So from this one, I'm going to go into settings right down here. And the length is the length that we're going to track. So if I want to make this the 200-day moving average, I would just click in this little box right here. I would delete 9, and I would just type in 200, and then click OK right here. Now I've got a blue line that is showing the 200-day moving average, which I actually want to make that a red line to make it pop even more. So I'm going to click these three little dots one more time to change the color of the line, go down to settings yet again. Now I'm going to go to style in here, and style is going to allow me to change the line plot color. I'm going to change it from blue to red by clicking this red button right there. Then clicking OK. And voila, we have this nice new red line on the chart that is showing us our 200-day moving average. I'm going to do the same thing for the 9-day below it, clicking on it again, clicking on the three dots, going into settings at the bottom. The style I'm going to make this one is yellow by clicking this little yellow grid right there. Then I'm going to go back into my inputs area right there at the top left. And I'm going to change this one from 9 to 50. And click OK. Now we've got a 50-day moving average, a 200-day moving average, and we have some candlesticks. I want to add in a couple more things, volume being one of them. So back to our FX right there, clicking on volume, typing in VOLUME, clicking on volume right there at the bottom. And boom, now we've got these nice volume bars in here across the bottom, seeing our volume on the chart. And one more we're going to do is this FX again. And we're going to type in RSI, which is relative strength index, showing us if the stock is overbought or oversold based on the momentum of the trading. And I'm just going to update the RSI from 14 days to 9 days, which is a personal preference for myself. Going in again with the three dots, settings. You should be getting pretty good at this now, making this 9 from 14 and clicking OK. And if I want to resize this chart, all I need to do is just click on the numbers over here on the right-hand side. I can drag and zoom those in and out. If I click and drag up, it goes zoom in. If I click and drag and go down, it zooms it out. I can also click and drag on the screen left and right with my fingers like this. That's going to zoom me, make it wider or narrower depending on what I want to see on the chart. I can also move this little line right here, separating the two areas, and make the RSI smaller. If I drag this down, makes RSI smaller, give me some more room to look at the actual chart data that I want to look at. Now, the key here is to set up your chart to complement the trading style that you have. You probably already have an idea of what indicators you want to include, so add those. And then when you have it set up the way you want it to be, make sure you go up to the top and you click on these four little dots right there, those four squares, click there. And you want to make sure you save your indicator template. When you click there, you can then name your indicator template. And if you want to make it something funny like best template ever, so you won't forget what it is. Then you just click on save at the bottom. And let's say for some odd reason you had to get these deleted and you're back with your old little basic chart. All you need to do is go back up into this little 4-square area, boom, right there, and just click on best template ever. And oh my goodness, that easily you have a chart template in your mobile app ready to go, locked and loaded at all times. So now that our chart is loaded up, we can make some technical analysis reads off of it. And the first thing that I want to see is that, oh no, the 200-day moving average is now above the 50-day moving average. That is known as a death cross, which is very bad, very, very bad for the stock. It's not a good thing. So if I wanted to trade Apple right now, I have to have a bearish kind of sentiment or a thought that the price is probably going to go down a little bit lower in here. So what I'm going to do is look to sell a put around the 164 area over here, giving myself lots of buffer to potentially have to buy stocks. So when you sell a put, remember, you're taking on the possibility of having to buy shares of stock, 100 shares for one contract. So let's go in now and go back out of here and look at the options chain for Apple. To back out of this, you just click the back button on your phone down here, or wherever it may be on your device, maybe a little bit different on an Apple device versus Samsung. But we're going to go down there, and this is going to take us back to our quote page, which we want to then go into options by clicking right here. So here we are now in our options chain. We can see that we've got calls on one side, being this side right here. We've got puts on one side, being this right side right here. And we've got the current stock price shown in this little white bar down at the bottom right here. You can see that's the current price of Apple. You can also see that we have expiration dates along the top right here. You've got April 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th. If I scroll to the right, those will keep on going way further out in time, giving you lots of choices for your options trading. And as the expiration dates go out, the value of these option contracts are going to get more expensive because there is more time associated with these contracts to work. When I'm selling options, I like to be in a 30 to 45-day window or less. So I'm going to keep this right on the April 19th, 2024, 20 days away for expiration. You can see you've got strike prices down the middle of your options chain, which is pretty standard if you're looking at an options chain for the first time. That's where it usually ends up being. You can scroll by clicking and holding and dragging and scroll up to go lower, or you can scroll down to go higher in terms of the strike price. And if you want to go back and just kind of have it so that up is higher and down is lower, you can click on the strike button right here to reset that. And now if I drag my thumb down, it gets higher. If I drag my thumb and scroll up, it gets lower. So feel free to toggle that around to your liking. I'm going to click the strike button one more time to toggle it back because that's the way that I like to see it. And now just before we make our trade, a bit more context on what the call and put sides mean as an options trader. If you are buying calls on the call side, you have a bias or a hypothesis that the stock price is going to move higher upwards to the right or being bullish. If you are buying puts, you will have a hypothesis that the stock price is going to be going down. On the flip side, if you are selling calls on this side and selling, right, which means we're going to be using the big S to sell, you would be looking for the stock price to move lower. And if you were on the put side as a seller, again, with the big S, you would have a bullish sentiment or hypothesis thinking the stock price was going to increase if you are selling. Since I want to sell a put on Apple, and I said the 164 area was the strike price that I wanted to look at, I'm going to look at 165 right there because there is no 164 given this expiration date. So I take the next closest thing and I say, okay, for $165 for my strike price, I would have to buy 100 shares of Apple if the price goes from 171 all the way down to 165 in this example. So if that were to happen, would I be okay owning those shares? I'm going to say yes in this scenario, and I'm going to get paid between 0.93 and 0.98. That's the bid and ask right there. I'm going to get paid somewhere in between those two, known as the MID or the mid at the top there, the mid. The mid price is probably going to be about 0.9, let's call it 95. So 0.95 is right in between these two. I would get paid that 0.95 to sell this put option and then take on the risk of having to buy 100 shares of Apple at the 165 price. Now, just before we lock in this trade and get paid for our efforts, I want to make sure we have the right columns up here and you can understand how to get to these yourself. The bid, ask, the last, open interest, delta, they all mean something for options traders. So to get there, what we need to do is go over to these little toggles over here, click in there. Then we just scroll down and go to manage columns in here. And now we can see that we have a little bit of a selected columns area, which is if I want to take something off, just click on the red button to remove it and lose it. And then if we scroll down, we have available columns that we can add in by clicking on the plus button to do so. So if I wanted to take off the delta, I'm going to click the little minus button right here and then click on remove over there. And now it is gone from my selected columns area. If I wanted to add it back in, I would just click on that plus button to do so and put it back on my list. If I wanted to drag and rearrange its position, I could do that as well. Move it around. And then to go back and see my columns again in my options chain, I click on this button right here. Click on done. And we are back. So the bid and ask you need to have on just to make sure you understand what the price of the option is going to be. You want the last column in there as well. The last is going to tell you the last traded price of that options contract for both the puts and the call side over here. Volume is important because it tells you how many active contracts were traded on that own trading day. The more volume, the more action at that strike price, right? You can see that the 170, 172 area, 175 got a lot of action today. 7,000, 9,000, 2,000, 5,000 over here. Those are the big numbers that I'm seeing on this options chain. So there's a lot of price action around the 175 to 170 price range. And then you've got open interest, which is all of the trades in the previous days combined together. Again, it gives you a good idea as an options trader, the key technical levels for price. You can see here we've got 60,000 right there and 35,000. So almost 100,000 at the 160 price level for Apple, which is, I think, the biggest on here. I see 75 cumulative right there between these two. You've got 60 or 60, 55 right there. And then you got about 78 right there. So maybe the 180 mark and the 160 mark are the big strike price where this stock price may land at. As an options trader, you should know these key levels and again, see where this high liquidity is. The higher these numbers are in open interest and volume at these different strike prices, the easier it's going to be to get the bid ask level down to a more manageable level with lower gaps in here. And these last two columns, the delta and the theta, these are both part of the Greeks. And the thing you need to know about delta is that it is a rate of change. So for this option, this 165 strike for Apple, what it's telling you right here is the delta is currently 193. So what that means is that for every dollar that the price of Apple's stock up here, that it changes. If it goes up by $1, the contract value of that 165 strike put option, this 96 cents here that we ended up paying, that value is going to change by the rate of the delta, which again is at 1.93 or 19 cents. You've also got the theta working right there, which is telling you you've got 4 cents of theta decay every day working against you, which is a good thing as a seller, bad thing as a buyer of options. So for example, every day that passes when I sell this contract, it means that this value over here between the bid ask or the 1096, it's going to go from 96 down to 92, which is good for me as a seller. When that gets to zero, I've made maximum profit. So that's what I want to see happen when I'm looking at theta. So I really only use these two to get a quick kind of idea of where the price may be at in terms of what the delta is going to impact and how the theta is going to impact. If I'm selling, that's good. Again, if it's theta and if the delta is going to move, it's going to move with the price of the stock. If the price moves down, obviously it's going to impact my contract in a bad way. If it moves up, it's going to impact it in a good way. It just depends on if you're buying, selling, bearish, or bullish. So to enter my trade on Apple again, I'm going to go ahead and sell this option contract right here at the 165 level. I'm going to click on it. It's going to show up red if I click on the bid area right there. And you'll see this order tab pop up in the bottom right corner. What I want to do is go click in there and click on this order button, which is going to take me to an order ticket where you can enter your trade. So what I want to do here is just make sure that I'm selling. In this case, I want to sell. If I wanted to buy, I could change this with a little drop down right there from sell to buy order. That's going to make it blue. So blue is buy, red is sell. I'm going to click this again and change it back to make it a sell, just in case you mess up and you get to this stage and you're not wanting to do one or the other. You can switch it around for yourself. Then I want to make sure my quantity is 1, which means 1 contract or 100 shares in this case. That's all I want to get into the trade for. You can change that by clicking the plus button, minus button. If you want to click the drop down as well, that will change the option quantity, bumping it up or dropping it down. That's a good example of that. I want to have an order type here. I usually use limit orders because it gives you the ability to set your own price for the contract right there. So if you wanted to change that to something like a market order, if you wanted to, click on the little drop down here again. And then you can click on market, stop, trail, whichever you want to do. I'm going to keep it at limit order right there, but just know that those options are there for you if you want to change up the type of order you're going to put in. Limit price, I want to make this 96. So clicking the plus button right here, you can move it, or if I just click it right in here, I can go ahead and update it myself and go 0.96, clicking done to submit it. Or again, like the other options, you have the little drop down there, which gives you the ability to pinpoint your price and actually click between the ask and the bid and click on the mid price, which is where I want to set my trade at. So I would just click in here to automatically populate the mid. Time in force, I want to keep this as day if I want it good for just one trading day. If I want to click this button over here, I can make it good till canceled, which means that it'll be good infinitely until it either gets filled or the order is canceled by myself. Usually I want to leave on a day order for these kind of opening trades. I'll put a stop loss as good till canceled, but that's basically all I use good till canceled for. So keep it on day is my recommendation as you're starting out and getting the feel for it. And then you would just go down and submit and slide to sell. If you wanted to take a quick preview, you could click this little calculator button here and click that up. That's going to give you your current balance, the change after the trade, and then what your account value is going to be like after the trade, including the equity with loan, the initial margin, the maintenance margin. If you're okay with these numbers, you would then go ahead and submit to sell, clicking and sliding this to the right. Now this green status bar is going to pop up, and when this turns from green to black, you'll have a confirmed trade. Currently, this is an open order yet to be filled. If you want to go and monitor if this does get filled, we just click on the back button down below. One more time. And now this is where we can go to our transaction section to go and monitor and see what we have in the hopper. Right now we have our trades checked on. We have orders where we have put this order in. So click on the orders tab right there. And you can see now we have a 96 cents, 165 put, which is an active order. It has not been filled yet. When it goes 1 of 1 quantity is filled, it will then move from green again to a full trade and move from the orders area into your trade area for you there for long-term logging. And that's actually a really nice feature about Interactive Brokers mobile app. They have this slide bar at the top to give you 7 days of data. In case you miss logging your trades on a different trading day, you can go back and click on it. It'll have all your trades for the day loaded in here, ready for you to go back and look at, but only 7 days worth of data. If you miss it from 7 days, you'd have to go back and get a report done. So it does give you some option there to go back and check. Now, assuming this trade gets made and gets filled, we would then go into our portfolio area to go and monitor this trade. And you can see in here, I've got a few different positions on. I actually do have an Apple put that I did sell in here, a 170 put that I sold. You can see -1, meaning that I sold it, but I have some shares of Apple in this account. I've got some shares of B&B, AMD, and so forth and so forth. What you want to do in here, though, is you want to have certain columns toggled on for your options trade to make it easier for you to track. And what these option columns mean, number one, you've got the change in the actual value of this contract. So on this trading day, it went up $0.64, which is bad for me. As a seller, I wanted this to go down. As a buyer, you would want this to go up. My position is showing me just what I want to have in the terms of contracts I have. My unrealized P&L and unrealized P&L percentage, those are key columns. This is telling me how much value I have in this contract right here that I could cash in and lock in for profit. This is the dollar amount. This is the percentage based on the original contract amount when I sold this put option, okay? Moving across, you've got P&L for the day. So on this trading day, this contract would have gone negative $50 in value or against me by $50, meaning that at the beginning of the trading day, it was around $180 of unrealized profit. Now it's dropped down to 132, and that would have happened because Apple's stock price moved lower. But you want to have the unrealized P&L percentage and the P&L to track what is going on day to day. Just don't get these confused, because your profit and loss here is not your total profit and loss for your position. That is the unrealized P&L and percentage P&L right there. Then you've got last, again, this is showing the last traded price of the contract. You can see the average price there beside it. The average price is what I got into the contract for. The last is what is currently trading at. So if I sold this contract and it's gone from 3.59 down to 2.4, I should have about $120-ish. I'm sitting at about 130 right now, again, of profit that I could lock in and take this away and bank it in my account. The cost basis is going to give you your average acquisition price for your contract right here. So if I was to buy more than one of these contracts or sell more than one of these contracts, it's going to give me a total average cost basis for all the contracts combined. This is useful for the actual stocks you have in there, or if you buy multiple or sell multiple option contracts. Then we've got last three columns, all very key. If you're selling contracts, you've got theta right there. And if you look at that, that's how much time decay is ticking by and making you every single day. So 6 cents a day. If you're buying contracts, this is what theta is costing you every single day to make the trade. So understand this $6 charge is going to get bigger as time gets closer to expiration. You've got delta in there as well, telling you how much this contract value is going to change with every underlying dollar move of the stock price of Apple. So if Apple's stock goes up by $1, this contract, this put contract right there, is going to be changing by 39 cents due to the delta. You can see some other deltas listed in here as well. And that's all just derivative of the stock price moving. Then you've got days till expiration, which is 20 in this case, meaning that I've got 20 days left until this put option expires. That's really useful because if you monitor the days till expiration and you combine that with the unrealized P&L, some people have certain profit targets, 60, 70, 80%. If they hit that number right here, no matter how much time is left, if it's 20, 30 days, 15, 5 days, they'll close this position out, saying that it's better to close this out, take this risk off the table and keep the profit, and then go and make a new trade based on getting more money, more bang for your buck, maybe 35 days out instead of 20, and try to go make that another 35, 50, 60, whatever the number is percent when you go and rotate your capital that way. So those are the key columns to have in your portfolio tab. If I wanted to go and close this position off and I said, okay, I want to lock in this $130 of profit, click right here on Apple, click in the chart right there, then click on your position down here at the bottom, right there where it says position, and this little button's going to pop up where it says close position. Click on that one right there. We're going to go back into an order ticket that has been populated with your data for your contract. Your contract's right there. It's giving you a buy order to close this one up because we sold to open. We want to buy to close. Do the mid price right there with the drop down. Click on the mid at the bottom right there. Day order is good. Slide to submit to buy, and you would close off your position, actively closing your trade. We would click yes to this right there. It's just giving me that data because the market is closed. That is how you can close out your position. If you wanted to cancel this order and take it off, if you weren't sure, you could always slide to cancel it, assuming it wasn't filled right away. A couple more things to show you here. Going back down at the bottom, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're getting value out of this here today so far. If we look at our account area right here, we want to go in there. It's going to tell us how our margin, how our balances are doing. The first column there, balances right there. The net liquidation value just means if you sold everything, this is how much you could walk away with right there. That's the big key takeaway from this page. You've got some cash and interest in there as well. If you have excess cash in your account, Interactive Brokers will pay you interest for having it like a savings account. If you have negative cash, it's going to be a borrowing charge. You're going to have to actually pay a fee if you're using margin that isn't yours from Interactive Brokers. Speaking of margin right there for your account, your current initial margin is shown right there. Your maintenance margin is shown right there as well. And then your overnight look ahead margin is all displayed there. If you want to understand more about margin, you can dig into that in this section. Funding area right there, you have current available funds that you can actually use. Same thing, look ahead funds, overnight funds, that's all tied to your excess liquidity, your positions, and your margin all together. And then you have market value, which is just giving you the kind of area where you have the stock that you're currently holding. You've got options right there. Again, interest and cash in your account, giving you kind of a grand total what you have in your account overall. And again, it comes back with this net liquidation value. If you want to have a quick gander at your unrealized P&L, how much you could close out today for your contracts that you currently have, 174.4 in this example, and you've got some realized P&L there if you do close out trades on any given trading day. So that's how to get to the numbers. And again, one last thing here in the middle, if you want to go and trade, you can go in there. You can click on the quote button right in the middle, and you can pull up and search for an actual stock in here to trade. And let's say we wanted to search for Adobe, because we had heard a great tip from a friend. Click on the drop down area right there. Click on stock. It's going to take you to the order page. And now that's a quick way to get into the stock. If you want to do some trading, some options, technical analysis, click back into the chart. If you want to go right to the options chain, go right there. If you know what you want to do, maybe you chart with a different platform, you can get right into your options chain. You can go through it, switch your expiration date, pick your strike price, lock in your trade, and go from there. You are now a IBKR heavyweight pro. Welcome to the Interactive Brokers mobile app club. Hopefully this gives you more confidence with your trading moving forward. If you want to learn more about Interactive Brokers, some of the other platforms that they offer, or stock investing in general, make sure you follow along and subscribe to my channel. My name is Andrew Ferguson. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video here today, and I will check you out on the next one.